Longevity is a huge talking point right now in the biotechnology, medicine, and biotech investing worlds. There's just one common theme that is becoming increasingly apparent to those of us with an interest or background in evolutionary biology or anthropology. And it's the way that most longevity claims are either based on speculations about mechanisms that we know very little about with regard to their impact for late life physiology, or they are stimulated by conversations surrounding exciting topics in supplements or therapies that have only been tested for lifespan extension in rodent species or in other mammal species or in even more distantly related species. Now, if this doesn't strike you as deeply problematic, then let me remind you the biology of humans is quite different from the biology of most other animals in the entire world. Namely, humans, when we undergo lifespan extension relative to the rest of the animal world, we are not doing so by simply extending the reproductive lifespan. We are doing so by outliving our reproductive lifespan. You see, the normal pattern for most mammals is to reproduce, and then as the reproductive lifespan draws near to a close, that is around the same time that that organism will typically end its life as well. So when humans reach the end of their reproductive lifespan after menopause for females or after traditional child rearing age for men, the so-called grandparent phase of life starts. And this, relative to other great apes, enables humans to live oftentimes 1 or 2 or 3, or in some cases 4 decades past the end of their reproductive lifespan. The important point here is that we've understood for some time in evolutionary biology the incredibly important role of antagonistic pleiotropy. This is the idea that the same genes that are selectively advantageous for enhancing early life during and leading up to reproductive years can be the same genes that actually have a high risk of having a negative impact on the organism later in life. If you think about the genetic regulators for things like tissue proliferation that enable rapid cell growth during fetal stage, these oftentimes are the same genetic pathways that cancer hijacks later in the organism's lifespan. The same genetic features that can help you be successful at reproducing can become dangerous and risky later in life. A wonderful example of this is the endogenous retroviruses that exist all throughout our genome. While we depend on ERVs to help us to protect the fetus from the maternal immune system, these ERVs have now been established with linkages to autoimmune disease, to neurodegenerative diseases, and they represent a serious, especially mid to late life health risk. But it's a trade-off because natural selection doesn't care how long you live. It cares that the genes get passed on to the next generation. And because humans have the unique grandparent phase of life, most model organisms simply don't account for the differences in physiology that exist in an organism that outlives its reproductive lifespan. Until that's properly addressed, a lot of the alleged anti-aging breakthroughs, unsurprisingly, will continue to fail at significantly altering the lifespan of humans. So keep this in mind next time you see an excited post about another drug or another therapy that has been found to extend a mouse's lifespan or some other experimental organism's lifespan, because chances are it hasn't been demonstrated to do this in human populations.